Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Hi, my dear students. How are you? I hope you all are fine. Um, my dear student, today we will study Silas Marner. Some pronounce Silas Marner and some pronounce Silas Marner. But as you all know, that I always advise you to read about writers before reading their work. I always advise you to write about writers before to read their work. So today we are going to study about Silas Marner. So first of all, I would like to advise you that today we would study about George Eliot. As you know that the writer is Silas Marner is George Eliot. George Eliot is the writer of Silas Marner, a female writer. So first of all, let's see her as a novelist, that how she is as a novelist. We are not going into her personal life, into her biography, but we are just going through her work. We just want to see that as a novelist how she was. George Eliot as a novelist, how she is. The most fascinating quality of the novels of George Eliot is psychological realism. Now, I tell you that what is psychological realism? Psychological realism is considered to be character driven and place a special emphasis on the interior life of the protagonist or other point of view characters. Here you must confuse about the protagonist. But I know you are not confused about the protagonist. You know the protagonist means the main character of the play, the main character of the novel. It arises from the motives, fears, and reactions of the characters to the dilemmas. Those who write psychological realism are interested in the inner mind's workings in relation to environmental forces and events. She represents in each of her novels the inner struggle of a soul and reveals the motives, impulses, and hereditary influences which govern human action. Actually, for her, it was necessary to know the inner, the protagonist inner. She wants to know the protagonist inner, that what is going on, the inner side of the protagonist. As I have already cleared that the protagonist means the main character of the novel. It is called protagonist. Why I emphasizes the words? Because I know it would be difficult for you people to listen. That is why I emphasizes the words again and again. Now we see the realistic approach of her novel. That what was the realistic approach of her novels? George Eliot was largely dependent on the material of her own early life. In the novels of the first group, we are talking about her other novels also, like Adam Bate, The Mill on the Floors, and Silas Marner. Especially the characters are largely taken from the circle of George Eliot's acquaintances and family life. Mostly, whenever you go through her novels, you must observe that she is talking about her acquaintances, her family friends, and even sometimes you feel that she is talking about herself. The character of Dina Morris in Adam Bede, one of her novel whose name is Adam Bede, and the character whose name is Dina Morris, was based upon mate of George Eliot's aunt. Mrs. Poyer in the same novel shows some of the qualities of George Eliot's mother. Adam Bede was drawn from George Eliot's father. Now you see, she is going to represent her family members in her work. In the middle of the flows, it is very interesting and very, you can say that, surprising novel also. The Mill on the Flows. And I would request you that now you are having much time at home, you must read this novel, The Mill on the Flows. Very interesting novel. And you must enjoy. Now you have time to watch the movies also. You can watch movies. There are available on YouTube. The personal and autobiographical. Now we are talking about the mill on the in the mill of the flows, very famous novel of George Eliot. The personal and autobiographical element is unmistakable and in the fact most conspicuous. Well, likewise we see different other elements in her novels, like as a moralist, she defines moral law is like fat. She shows the tragic characters in her fiction also. Whenever you go through her novels, and you should, as the student of English literature, you must go through all the novels, all the original novels, original text. You must read out the original text. You must see that the tragic element in her novel. And George Eliot, first, most of her novels are all rather depressing. It was happen on one occasion when her husband remarked that her novels were all essentially sad. It was her husband remarks about her novels. He said that George Eliot's novels are full of sadness, full of tragic. At that occasion, she wept and replied that she must describe life as she found it. And this is the pure quality, this is the true quality of any writer. When he or she describes the life in her or in his work, this is the pure quality. Well, my dear students, besides these elements, we see the philosophical elements as well. She was, you can say that, philosopher. Yes, she was a philosopher as well. So we see the philosophical elements also in her novels. She sees the things in a philosophical manners. She goes deeply in the character. Well, when we are talking about her tragic elements, we are talking about her moral elements, we are talking about her philosophical elements. So now we are talking about her humorous element also. Yes, her novel, you see in her novel some kind of humor also, because it is the quality of the writer. It is the quality of the writer that she or he must have the mixture of the elements in their work, not herself or himself, but in their work. They must have these mixture. Without these elements, work does not look beautiful. Though her novels are full of tragic and very difficult to find any humorous character, but humor lies in her character. And we laugh without thinking. Even there isn't any sentence. We don't see, we don't observe any humor or any joke kind of sentence. But then too, laugh comes, and we see and we observe, yes, there is some sort of humorous also. So humor is also seen in her novels.